Have you ever sent a message, something thoughtful, funny, hopeful, and then silence? No response. Days flick by, and you find yourself staring at your phone. Your heart does that weird thing, half hope, half hurt. You keep refreshing, then you realize you've been ghosted. Ever felt that gut punch, that sting of confusion? You replay your last convo over and over. Did I say something wrong? Did they stop caring? Or maybe, did I matter to them at all? Here's the thing, ghosting isn't just rude, it cuts deep. And the reason it hurts isn't just emotional, it's biological, psychological, even spiritual. Today I want us to explore why disappearing without a word, the ghosting, feels like someone pulled the ground out beneath us. Do you ever notice how a simple greeting, "Hey, how's your day?" can shift into silence so fast? 1 minute you're sharing hopes or funny memes, and the next crickets. It's like someone yanked the connection but left you plugged in, longing. Sometimes it's not even someone you care deeply about. Maybe it's a new crush, a friend you thought was genuine, or someone you were just getting to know. But here's the catch. Those unanswered texts resonate louder. Why is that? Psychologist Michelle Drouin explains that we crave closure and understanding. When someone ghosts us, that closure disappears, and with it goes our sense of belonging and control over our own emotional world. No wonder those thoughts spiral, because humans hate not knowing. And there's more. Ghosting isn't just unclear, it's emotionally violent. Today says the brain's physical pain centers light up during social rejection. Yes, physical pain when we feel left out. That gut wrench you feel, it's not drama, it's neurobiological fact. But it goes deeper. We're social animals. Our need to connect and belong is ingrained in our DNA. Losing that abruptly without explanation is like watching the rug pull from under us. That's why ghosting hurts so damn much. There's something about being ghosted that hits a different nerve. It's not just about someone walking away. It's about the fact that they left without a word, without closure, without giving you the dignity of a goodbye. And that silence? It echoes for hours, days, sometimes longer than the actual connection lasted. You sit there staring at your screen, rereading messages, wondering if it was something you said or didn't say. You doubt yourself, replay every detail. And in that spiral, the pain doesn't fade. It sharpens. That's because your brain is wired for connection, literally. When someone disappears on you, especially without warning, your brain registers it the same way it registers physical pain. And that pit in your stomach, that anxiety in your chest, it's neurological. It's real. According to studies in neuroscience and psychology, social rejection activates the anterior cingulate cortex, the same area that processes physical pain. So no, you're not being dramatic, you're being human. But ghosting isn't just a rejection. It's rejection without clarity. And that's what makes it torture. Because your mind starts to search for answers. And when there are no answers, your brain starts making up its own. I wasn't enough. I must have annoyed them. Maybe they realized I'm not worth their time. Sound familiar? It's called the need for closure. A psychological drive that humans are built with. When closure doesn't happen, your mind fills in the blanks, and it rarely does so kindly. Some people carry this confusion with them for months, even years, and not just in romantic relationships. Ghosting by friends, coworkers, even family members has the same psychological impact. In fact, recent research from the University of Brighton found that young adults, especially those under 30, are the most mentally affected by ghosting and emotional avoidance, often developing long-term anxiety, loneliness, and even trust issues in future relationships. And here's the hardest part. The longer someone meant something to you, or the more intensely you felt for them even briefly, the worse the ghosting hits. That loss you're feeling, it's not just missing a person. It's grieving a connection that never got to finish. It's a form of ambiguous grief. You didn't get closure, you didn't get context, so your heart gets stuck on what if. And because there's no end, your nervous system keeps waiting, like a page that never turns. And the longer it waits, the more damage it does. But this damage doesn't just stay in the past, it affects your future. When you've been ghosted, especially more than once, it can make you cautious, hyper-aware, even emotionally guarded. You might start expecting abandonment. You overthink replies. You pull back just in case they disappear. And even when someone is genuine, you hesitate to believe it. Because ghosting doesn't just make you question them. It makes you question your own worth. That's why it lingers. That's why it hurts. But let's flip the perspective. Because while being ghosted feels like a personal attack, the truth is, it often says far more about them than about you. Ghosting is, at its core, an act of emotional avoidance. It's a way for someone to sidestep discomfort, confrontation, vulnerability. It's a shortcut through a hard conversation. And sometimes it's done because they're scared. Scared of hurting you, scared of how you'll react, scared of feeling guilty, and sometimes they ghost because they simply don't have the emotional tools to be honest. Not everyone knows how to express disinterest without being cruel. Not everyone knows how to close something kindly. And when someone doesn't have the courage to face you with respect, they vanish. Not because you're unworthy, but because they're emotionally unequipped. In fact, research shows that many ghosters experience guilt or regret afterward, especially when the ghosting was abrupt. But instead of facing that discomfort, they double down on the silence. That way, they don't have to deal with the consequences. Psychologist Janice Vilhauer explains in Psychology Today that ghosters often convince themselves that fading out is less harmful than confrontation, but in reality it causes more emotional confusion and long-term damage. And while it may sound strange, ghosters suffer too. Not always in obvious ways, but when you avoid emotional accountability over and over, you weaken your capacity for intimacy. You miss out on growing stronger communication skills. You limit your ability to love fully. You start to treat people as disposable. In doing so, you end up feeling more alone, because you haven't just ghosted them. You've ghosted your own emotions. So maybe it's not about blaming them, but understanding the pattern, seeing it for what it is, and deciding not to carry that damage into your next chapter. Because here's the truth. Being ghosted doesn't define you, but how you respond to it, that shapes who you become. You can use the pain to close off, sure, or you can use it to become clearer about what you deserve, to draw stronger boundaries, to build deeper self-trust. Because if you've been ghosted and still choose to show up with openness, vulnerability, and integrity, that's strength, that's healing. And maybe the person who ghosted you didn't teach you how to love, but they did teach you something else. That silence reveals character, that endings without closure say more about fear than failure, and that no matter how someone exits your life, your story is still yours to write. Let me ask you again as a friend, well, what do you need right now? Not closure from them, you might never get it. But you? You need clarity and compassion, self-kindness. And that sense of resolution, yes, it starts with you. Think back on that feeling when they stopped replying. Hear the silence. Now ask, what story am I telling myself? Are you leaning into self-blame, imagining you were never worth it? That's the uncertainty loop, the cognitive echo that spirals, and none of it is based on fact. It's your mind trying to piece together missing puzzle pieces, and hurt doesn't validate narrative, truth does. So how do we rewrite the narrative? You start by naming it. I'm hurt, I'm confused, I feel abandoned. You bring the wound into the light, and then you meet it with kindness. You talk to yourself like you would to your best friend after a breakup. Calm, gentle, telling them, it's okay, this hurts. Then you ask, what would help me heal today? A call with a friend, a jog in the morning light, writing a letter to yourself where you don't even have to send it. Self-care isn't a luxury. It's a form of self-affirmation. You're choosing to say, I matter. And then there's forgiveness, not for them, but for you. Forgive the ghoster for their clumsiness, their fear, their avoidance. Let that compassion free you, because carrying bitterness only extends your own suffering and denies you rest. If you're still watching, thank you for choosing depth over distraction, humanity over emptiness. Tell me in the comments, what's your story? Ghosted once? Many times? How did you feel? And how did you find your way back? Share this video with anyone who needs permission to feel hurt and permission to heal. We all deserve that. If you want more conversations that go beyond the surface, subscribe. Not for algorithms, but for moments like this. Moments to remind you, your feelings matter, your voice matters, you matter. I'm grateful you were here. Let's keep finding ourselves together.